Alright, I've got updated the Diags right here. If you can look and see, it says version 5.0.4. And in this version we've got some new features. The first thing, it has to do with the probe programming. First thing we're going to do is go to the one wire menu, and then right here you can see in the center section here it's red because we plugged a probe in that's got no data on it. I'm going to unplug it right now. You're going to see that go yellow. Okay. So it just says no probe ID. And then if I plug this back in, you'll see it go red. So that says a probe is plugged in, but there's not valid data on it. Okay, so you got 0 for the probe ID and a 0 frequency divisor. From here, what you can do is you can hit the config button. You can go to this panel and you can configure, what you want on the probe. Let's say you want to open, or you could go to a lap. You could just touch that. No, let me try it with something. Touch that, and you can choose lap or you can choose open, and you can choose which power table. Right now it defaults to the first one, but if you select, let's see what's in the second one, it shows you right here on the screen all this data that's in the power table. And power table 2 and power table 1 are the same thing. We're just right now, so we're just going to stick with power table 1. Okay, so this says 1 is chosen, and right here it shows you've chosen 1. Now if you leave the frequency divisor 0 and you go to program it, it's going to program in the default one, which is 329. But let's put something in here. Put something in like 500. Okay, enter that in, and then you exit out of there, and then when you hit program, it's going to program that in. Just takes a minute. Okay, this panel turns yellow because it's valid probe plugged in. It says the probe ID, it's an open probe, and the frequency divisor of 500 and the power table of 1. Alright, now the big new feature is that once a probe is plugged in, it automatically populates the parameters on the FPGA menu over here. As you can see on the blue panel, all these are populated. And see the frequency divisor is 500. Now let me show you. When I unplug the probe, all these fields get wiped down to 0 and default values. And when I plug it back in, it's going to repopulate with all the values that are in the probe. And if you can see, all of the things are written in blue. Okay, that says that that's data that's entered from the probe. If I want to change, I was going to tell you this too, the SMPS value is 10% of the power level like you had requested. But if I want to change any of these manually, I can. Let's say the power, I change it to 50. Okay, and you'll notice that now it's in black instead of in blue, and that tells you that that's a user entered. That's data that's not inside the probe. Anything that's black here is not going to be inside the probe. So let's say you were playing around, you want to play around with a few frequency divisors and you decide that you like 423 better. Okay, and you say, okay, I want to program that into the probe. All you have to do is this value gets transferred over to the probe programming configuration form. You come back over here to where you program the probe. Okay, you can't see it here. These values are in blue. This is what's currently in the probe. But if you hit the config button, you'll see the 423 that you entered on the other form. Okay, and now if you go back and you hit program, it's going to automatically program in that 423. Okay, now we're going to go back to the FPGA menu and you're going to see 423s in blue. Alright, so let's show you one more feature. You can change this again, let's say to 522 or something. You can change it, and then you can go back to program the probe on the one wire menu, and when you program again, we changed it to 522. You don't even have to hit the config button. If you don't want to. It's been transferred over. When we hit the program button, you're going to get that 522 in there. Okay? And the last thing I need to point out is if you change something here on the config menu, let's change the frequency divisor to like 600. If you change it here, okay, you can change it there, but it does not transfer it to the FPGA menu. It doesn't transfer it back to the FPGA menu. If we go back over there, you're still going to see the value that was in the probe, which is 522. If you want the 600 to be transferred over there, you're going to have to program the probe. You're going to have to do that. And now it's programmed into the probe, and it'll be on the other menu. But just to show you one more time, I'm going to go here and I'm going to make it, you know, like 640. 640. Okay. It's 640 here, but when you go back to this other menu, again, you don't have that 640. You got the value that's inside the probe. If you change it here, though, to 690 or something, it will transfer it the other way. So the transfer goes from the FPGA menu to the one wire menu. It doesn't come back the other way. Alright? And I guess that's about it. One other thing here. If you make any change, you can just reprogram. You don't have to erase the probe before you program in something new. I mean, because what happens is when you program in, it programs in the whole probe. There's like 16 banks. We're only using the first two, and the last 14 banks all have zeros programmed into them. So you really don't ever need to use this erase EEPROM unless you want to. Okay, that's it. Thanks.